Spawn On Me is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Brookago, y'all.
What up, everybody? This is the Spawn On Me podcast. I'm your host, Kahlief Adams. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody is doing really well. It is a fantastic Wednesday here in Brookago. We have lots of good things happening. We're on the front page of Twitch. We have a fantastic guest. I'm excited. My bald spot is gleaming and shining, but you can't see it because it's underneath this hat, and there's beautiful lights in here, and it's showing off my shirt from Ali World, which is fantastic, which I got a chance to play, which we'll be talking about later sometime during the week. But if you missed our show, thank you so much, Arctic. I love you, fam. If you missed our show last week, you missed the Black Hokage, who was doing his thing on the show. He's fantastic. He's brilliant as always. A lot of fun talking to him. Of course, this was E3 week, so there were a lot of episodes up on the feeds. Please go check those out. It was a lot of work that we did with our fam over at Fanbyte, getting a chance to hang out with them and do a lot of cool shows with them. Talk about all the things that happened during E3 and Summer Games Fest week. So please go check out all of those. We had a blast doing those shows, and there's going to be some more content, especially with Xbox's follow-up show that's happening tomorrow that is hosted by somebody named Paris Lilly. Never heard of that guy before. Supposedly he has beef with somebody named Kahlief about cooking and all that other cool stuff. But I'm excited for him, and we're going to talk a little bit about that after the break later on in the show. I'm hyped. It is time to bring on somebody who I love on the show, one of my favorite folks in and on the planet. Please welcome to Brookago, Tim Schafer from Double Fine. Very excited to have him on rocking with us. What's good, Tim? How you doing? How's everything?
I'm doing great. After that intro, I feel fantastic.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You are absolutely loved. I am happy to see you. It's been too long. You know, it winds up being that because of, you know, a global pandemic, we don't get a chance to hang out. And I think
the last time we were in some sort of like a fishbowl at E3, sitting on little red stools, you know?
Literally, it was probably is that 2 years ago now at this point? Yeah, probably 2 years ago. Wow, time has flown by so quick. Yeah, we were at E3 hanging out. We were lucky enough to be a show that could broadcast from the floor, and you were kind enough to come by. It was myself and Dylan Jovento getting a chance to hang out with you and chill.
Always great time. Always great time.
Yeah. How are you doing? How's everything going? How's everything good with you?
Great. I had like lunch outside today with people.
Yeah.
Like human beings, you know, it's just like the light at the end of the tunnel in a lot of ways. Like there's a pandemic coming to something. I don't want to jinx it by calling it the end, but like some things coming back, and then our game shipping, you know, Psychonauts 2. The pandemic was a long time, but Psychonauts 2 has been even longer. So,
yeah.
Like us being the team is super excited about like, wow, we're actually going to ship this game.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. It has definitely been a long time. Again, extremely happy to see you and have you on the show. So thank you for taking the time out to come hang out with us here. You know, we are in the end of the E3 week for the most part. There's going to be one more piece of, you know, big content coming from Microsoft tomorrow, 10 a.m. if you're listening to the show live here on Twitch, over on their Twitch channel hosted by Paris Lilly. And I know that Double Fine is going to have some stuff in the show too that you can't talk about yet because it's not happened yet, because we're in the previous times before that other thing is in the future. But how has your E3 been? How did you have a wild E3 this year? Was it a lot busier because of things kind of getting back in the swing of things, and you all having a game that you're putting out very soon?
It's pretty mellow compared to, you know, running around down by the Staples Center and all the craziness of that, you know, doing a lot of stuff from your house. But exciting to be part of that big Xbox show, having Psychonauts 2 in there. That was pretty great show, and it was fun to be a part of it. You're always nervous because a game like Psychonauts, you're like, how is it gonna, how are we gonna be up next to these huge games? But what's nice about like a game like Psychonauts is it still looks unique. It still stands out. It still has it carves out its own place.
Yeah, I think the thing that I always come back to when it comes to Psychonauts is the legacy that it has is in terms of how it is beloved by so many folks in the industry, and fans of games and players, while also kind of putting this newer game in the space that's going to kind of bring that energy back to all of those spaces. How exciting is it to kind of reinvigorate that energy into the game space with a game that is really beloved by so many people?
It's you always think of like there's a big audience and there's a small audience. Like my nephew Griffin, who was like really young when he played the first game. He's like, you should make a sequel. You should make a sequel for years. Every Thanksgiving, you should make a sequel to that game. And now he's like in his 20s. And I'm like, hey, I made a sequel to that game. And luckily he still cares. So, but I think you always think of like just what mattered to just one fan, and like he's going to remember the characters and all this stuff. And it's got to be right for just that one, with that one person. So hopefully my nephew likes it. So, he seems pretty psyched. So I'm excited. But it's also fun because we put a lot of work into making the worlds feel real. Yeah. Like any big game, like let's make all the characters have these deep backstories, make all the lore, really rich. And so until the characters feel real to you. And then you put it on the shelf for a long time. And then you bring it back out and you're like, those characters are still alive. Like they've been trapped in your head the whole time going, finally, for your back. Like, let us speak.
Yeah. I wonder how that feels too, because that is a thing where, you have been working on this for a really long time. There has been that want for so many people in the world to see it happen again and come back in this way. Plus the acquisition of Double Fine by Microsoft a couple years ago. Do you feel like there's more pressure to put out a banger on this end of it, or do you feel like you are in a good spot where you're just like, we know exactly what we want to put out in the world, we know where this game is going to kind of land in terms of our enjoyment of making it and having that audience kind of come back? Are you still feeling that kind of launch pressure that most folks devs kind of feel when they're putting a new thing out?
I really don't think there's any pressure anyone can put on us that's more than we put on ourselves. Like, yeah. I think we just really want the game to be super good, and we care so much about it being a good game. I think that's always the same. Yeah. Even if it was just for one person or if it was being, it can be nerve-wracking to stand on one of those big stages with all the lights and stuff. That could be, but there would be nothing that would make us feel like, okay, the stakes are really low, so the game doesn't. It always has to be a great game.
Yeah,
for sure.
How is Double Fine kind of changed and maneuvered through everything that's been happening over the past year? Do you feel like you've kind of learned a bunch about the process of making games, or how to kind of run a team in a different way because of all these extenuating circumstances?
It's hard to learn permanent lessons because it's all going to be different next time because the pandemic hopefully will be over completely and you'll be back in the studio. Yeah. There'll be these differences where people realized how much they like not commuting to work. Like, oh, that was nice not getting on the bus and train every day. Some things will probably be different, but it was really just the team was so committed to the game and committed to each other. That's what's really nice, is to figure out how committed everyone is to being together and like coming out, even though it feels dumb to go to like a company party on a Zoom call. You've got these little giant Brady Bunch family parties, and like everyone knows it's not the same, but everyone's trying really hard. And I think that commitment to each other is what makes a team like the team of Double Fine feel really special.
Yeah, I've always loved to see you kind of be that person who is the not only founder and figurehead for the company, but also have found good ways to continue to put folks who are on the team out front to talk about the games y'all make and give them a good space to kind of talk about that. Has that stuff changed a lot because of the fact that the pandemic was so long and everybody's in these different places, so it makes it a little bit easier to kind of delegate some of those parts of what it takes to put out a game?
Maybe that's part of it. And also we got a new community manager with Heather, who's been really great about digging down into the team to find other voices to talk. and represent, because there's so much, talent on the team, so many different perspectives. It's great to have, people come forward, and part of that's this, in some ways, like lifelong mission for me, or not lifelong, but it's something I care about a lot, is letting people see pulling back the curtain, letting people see who makes games and how they do it. Because when Two Player Productions said, "Can we make a documentary about making games?" I was like, great. This is what I've always wanted to show. Because when I was a kid, I loved video games, but it never could occur to me that I could make them. Because I thought they were made by geniuses and robots and not people like me, scientists, but like, I kind of lucked into this job, and like, oh, it is people like me. It's like people who love video games, and it's not some special brand. And the people watching these documentaries will hopefully see. Hopefully they don't think we're dumb, but at least they realize, like, they're like, well, they're not that much. They're not. I think that guy's definitely not smarter than me. I can make a game,
I mean, the thing that I always go back to is like knowing how difficult it is to make games at this point. And knowing just how many parts are in the secret sauce to making a thing happen in that way. I doubt anyone who's paying any real attention will say like, oh, I can do that right off the bat, because it's hard to make a game. And I still think that people don't know just how difficult it is to actually like get that thing across the finish line. Like, how long has the game been in development at this point?
Like 4.5 years? 5?
Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah.
We launched that Kickstarter at it's just that's the other side of the documentary. We want to show how not easy, like anyone can make a game, but also it's really hard. And it's hard because you care, and it's a labor of love, and you see how much of themselves the team puts into the game, and how many, you look at it, like just looking at these scenes going by, and you can see all the different skills being on display. There's the art, there's the modeling, and there's the visuals, the programming, all the things going on in engineering, and the music, and the singing, and the acting, and the writing, and all these, like people say about opera. Like opera brings together all these different disciplines, and video games brings almost every art form I can think of, except for maybe perfume making. Maybe someday we'll figure that out. Like there's so many, everything about your senses that could be stimulated is going on with video games, right? So that's what's exciting about them. That's what makes the team so colorful.
I mean, they tried Smell-O-Vision once.
Yeah. It comes back every once in a while.
I was in that booth. I forgot, it was a Beavis and Butt. No, it was a South Park game.
Is that the first thing you want to smell? Of all the games that you want to, well, if you could name the first game you want to take a good whiff of, would it be Beavis and Butthead or South Park?
I don't know what that would even smell like. It's like young kids who don't put on deodorant. Like, what does it smell like in a real way? Like, I
mean, the thing, Smell-O-Vision, just the thing to remember is be careful what you wish. That's all.
For real. Like, I think that is a thing that I think a lot of folks in the world are like, man, I want every sense to kind of come through in every possible way. And then you wind up, smelling puberty, and you're just like, oh, I don't necessarily want that.
Zombies are more fun to shoot than smell.
Back of the box quote for the next zombie game that you all make it that way.
Our zombies are as fun to smell as they are to shoot.
They smell like potpourri. It's amazing. Talking about, the differences in how hard it's become to, games have gotten more progressively, challenging to make. Technology is pushing forward in lots of different ways that, we're seeing every day. With that being said, with the technological jump that we're seeing now, is that also making games more difficult to make, or is that giving you kind of more options now to go wild with every idea that you have that before you were kind of limited to be able to kind of do, and now you might be able to kind of like expand on things that you never were before?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely more complicated, and it mostly just requires more people, because which has its ups and downs. Like, yes, it's more complicated, more expensive, more to coordinate, but they bring these expertise, and like they go really deep. There's people who know things about how this game was made that I have no idea how we made those shaders, or like this, there's a lot of experts that know these really deep wells of knowledge on the game, and that's exciting. It's fun to bring that together. But I remember back before games were 3D, and we could change. We didn't before we localized things like all these the games like Monkey Island, Secret of Monkey Island, first thing I ever worked on. 9 months, like it took 9 months to make that game. And we changed dialogue the day before we shipped. And it was just, it's a simpler time. And there was never a storyboard or a plan for anything except for whatever was in Ron Gilbert's head. And he just told the artist what to draw every day. And then there's new art. And we wired it up. Anyway, it was simpler. And there was a lot of fun to that. But, I think we keep wanting to do games that, that look like this, that really are exciting to look at and all hear and all that stuff. And, you can do it. You just have to, work with really great people and stay organized.
Yeah. I kind of love the fact that, in this space, I haven't run into like braggadocious devs anymore. Like that's not a thing there was a moment in time where that was a thing where it was like, yo, I'm gonna roll through with my Lamborghini and we're going to roll up and be like, yo, I'm making the best game on the planet. But it feels like everyone is kind of been humbled or humbled themselves in a way that feels really refreshing in that way across that kind of landscape of the development world and making games to put those things out in the world. Do you
That's
feel
a really interesting observation. I had not really noticed that, the death of the braggadocious dev.
I mean, I there was a moment where it felt like that was a thing, or at least those folks, the space is no longer giving them room to do that thing because of like social media, right? Like you're not gonna you get smacked down a little bit faster now than you would back in the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a record of all the braggadociousness, and it doesn't play as well on Twitter. Those kind of things. But I think it's an interesting combo because in the world, on the one hand, like AAA games, it's just there's no way one person can take credit for a game anymore. It can't be like, I totally kicked ass with that game. Like, no, you got a lot of help. No matter what your position, no matter what your contribution was, there was a lot of people who helped make that game. And there are some people who do make games all by themselves in the indie world, but they don't tend to be super braggadocious either. They're just like trying to see their vision through. They're not like, we totally crushed it. Yeah, I just dropped this new game. Suck it, everybody! Like you don't see that, and for the better, probably.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's one of those things too, where it's just like that energy for a space where, let me back up a step. One of the things I love about the space and I love about the industry, and especially like during E3 week, has been so many folks who are putting out either, big games, small games, games that maybe even be competitive against each other, are all really nice to each other in terms of the like, hey, I'm excited that your thing is about to come out. I'm hyped for you and your team. I'm excited to see, the thing that you're going to put out in the world. How has that part of it been for you, having been in the space for so long, to kind of see that kind of family of the industry is continuing to grow in that way from both the kind of triple, double, and the indie space too?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone realizes how lucky we are to have these jobs. I mean, how many people get to make up stuff and get paid for it? That's very privileged, lucky position to be in. And then we all know how hard it is. So when you see another developer, you feel like giving them a hug, like, oh man, you're shipping this game. Oh man, you just feel their pain. But I also, it's never felt like, to use an overused term, a zero-sum game. It's never felt like, oh, there's only like $5 video game dollars everyone has to spend, and so if your game's taking from my game, no one ever seems to feel like your game's taking from my game, except for back when there was like one, like when your game came out the same day as on Xbox Live Arcade as someone else's. I remember that was like Costume Quest and Super Meat Boy came out the same day, and they were like, "You sons of," and it was like, we're gonna get you," but then it turned out to be. You rarely do you feel like anyone else's game is taking away anything from you, unless they literally stole something from your game. But
how dare you take my textures, damn it, how dare you take my idea. Psychonauts 2 is going to be the best game on the planet because it comes out the day after my birthday, which is fantastic.
We tried to get it done. I'll talk to the team. We'll try and pull it in one day. for your birthday. No, we're not.
No, please don't. I want. Don't even do it. I mean, it'll be even better.
Any bugs that get reported, we're like, we had to pull it in for a birthday. I won't name any names. We were gonna fix that bug on the next day, but birthdays are important.
I feel like somebody would beat my ass if that happened. Both like externally, somebody in the audience would be like, "Damn it, Kahlief, why are you delaying this? Why are you pulling this game up and giving them some problems and giving them trouble?" I'm super excited to jump back into the world. For the folks who this will be their first Psychonauts game, what's the kind of foundation of the game for folks who aren't really familiar with the series so far?
Yeah, it's all about that kid you can see on the screen, Raz, and the premise of the game is that he is a psychic and he can actually project himself into other people's minds. So the levels in the game are all people's inner minds, like made real, like their dream worlds. You get to see their nightmares and their fears. All monsters are their phobias, inside their minds. And you get to go in and kind of help them fight their inner demons in a real way. And he's also an acrobat, so it's a platformer. So you get an action adventure platformer with lots of characters. There's a lot of narrative, backstories. My background was in adventure games, so there's like some puzzle moments. And it's a lot of humor. I think that's always been a signature thing for this game and the company, is that we like to stink some jokes in there.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that you all continue to put cheeky humor in all of your games. It is one of the things that makes me love Double Fine in the most ways, is that you all have decided that this is what we're going to do with the works that we put out in the world, is have fun and try to make people laugh. How important is it? What was that?
I don't understand how all games aren't comedies, because games are so ridiculous in a way. Like you can run up and you can stand on another character's head. Like you can just go up and how do you take that so seriously?
I mean, some people are very, very serious about wanting to make games in a way that are, when you have that zombie smell-o-vision, you want it to be the most smelly zombie smellos.
Stop making jokes. I'm busy smelling this zombie.
I'm busy smelling this zombie. Yo, back up off me. that could also be a back of the box quote.
But it's true for everything. I think that's a general premise I really believe in, that I really fight for in the industry, is that there's no one right answer to games. Games shouldn't all be funny or shouldn't all be serious. There's room for everything.
Yeah. What's the thing that you're, when someone's kind of coming to the game for the first time, that they really pull away from Psychonauts 2? Of course, the art is gorgeous and beautiful. The story is going to be fun and fantastical. But what's the thing that you're kind of hoping people will, attach to the game or latch on to when they get a chance to play it for the first time?
Gosh, I really hope they laugh and have a fun time playing it. And it's I think the thing that I also I hope they're surprised. Like, I think that's the main goal for any kind of entertainment, whether it's like horror or comedy, is like just have people not expect what's happening next, and that, especially with the Psychonauts game, is like, you better not be able to predict the next level or we have failed completely. So just being surprised and laughing, that's what I mostly want. And there's other things going on, other levels where we're dealing with, like, in some ways, issues of mental illness and things that are hopefully it's all about kind of healing and empathy, I think, at the end of the day. But I think, but mostly minute to minute, you're laughing and being surprised and jumping onto tight ropes and having fun.
Yeah. How has it been kind of moving into this new next gen world of technology that are super, super fun to play around with, kind of build on some of the previous ideas? Or were there ideas that were in the first game that you just couldn't do, that now potentially might have gotten into the second game, that you're like, oh man, we just couldn't do that thing before, and now with next gen hardware we could?
I mean, we're trying to present this really psychedelic world, which is all about, there's specific levels that are about triggering all senses, and I feel like the fidelity with which we've been able to do that is, the tools available to the the effects artists and stuff that weren't there before allow us to do completely new visuals than we did on the first game. And, the first game, we were still learning so much because we were, at the very beginning, we were PC developers. Yeah. A lot of us had come from Grim Fandango, the last game we made. And so we, learning how, the Xbox, starting back then, they were just introducing things like pixel shaders and things like that. We're like, what? What can we do with all this stuff? And so I feel like we're much more on top of our game now as far as the tech side of things.
Yeah. One of the things that before I move on to the other thing, we're gonna have Lizette on the show next week.
Oh, awesome.
To come by and talk about all the art and everything that's in there.
Art director, Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, brilliant. Been a fan of hers for a very long time. When you're building out your team for a thing like this, I was super excited to see her get pulled over into Double Fine's family, and into the crew. When you're looking for folks, because I've already had a couple of folks in the chat say, "Hey Tim, I've been learning the code. Hire me."
All right, done. Easy. Just type. No, yeah.
5-finger, you already got a job. Good job. What are you looking for when you've been building out teams for a long time on various different games and trying to figure out good ways to find people who mesh well together around a project and things like that? When you're looking for people who are like embody what Double Fine is as a company, what are some of the things you're looking for folks who are coming into the fold?
Well, it's not an easy answer. I think we have a lot of people on the team who interview someone, and they're all looking at different levels. There's if it's a tech interview, they're looking for very high skills and knowledge and experience and things like that. There's also like a certain personality that we like at Double Fine. Like, it's one of the things that's great about starting your own company is you don't have to hire any jerks. That's one thing. That's a tip, right? And so I worked for 10 years and everyone was great at LucasArts. They're like, well, not everybody. I mean, they're like, most people were great, right? And you're like, I am never going to hire someone. You can, you really can be careful about, certain cultural things. Like, I want to have a culture of mutual respect, I think, because I've been, people have experienced different developers, I'm talking about big like publisher developers where there's politics, there's us versus them. We had wars between programmers and artists, in the old days and stuff. And I want to have a team where everyone feels lucky to be working with each other and, really grateful. The programmers are grateful to have artists of the caliber and the artists are grateful to be working with the sound people. And that's happened at Double Fine. Everyone feels like they work more than they work for me. Like, they all work for each other because they really respect the people they work with. And that's the kind of thing you have to do at the interview level. I think you have to kind of feel that out. I don't know exactly how to do it, but you like certain kind of personality that the way they, you can kind of tell how they treat people by how they talk about people in their current job or their last job. And so that way, that kind of cultural thing is important. And then, they also have to be super creative, obviously, like super, excited by the idea of making something, making something up and surprising people with it. And, I got really spoiled in a lot of ways working at LucasArts because it attracted some of the best people in the world because of Star Wars. Like, it was a Star Wars company, right? And like people who knew about Star Wars, they came from across country. Like, I'm going to work at Skywalker Ranch. I want to work, I want to work with George Lucas. Like, it was a huge aspirational thing for a lot of people. And they get there and they're told, oh, by the way, you can't work on Star Wars games because we don't make Star Wars games. Like, that was so I guess we'll make up this pirate game then, all that energy, all these bright minds were like forced to make up stuff. And so, anyway, and it leads to this kind of, this team that you almost don't have to manage because everyone's such an insane perfectionist. They're just like, I want to make the best art I can make. And so they're all just, you don't have to tell someone something has to be great. They just like, yeah, it has to be great. We're making a thing. It's got to be awesome. Yeah, I'm going to make it great. So there's that kind of personality too, which you kind of look for. The people who just like, you make a thing not because it's your job, but because making something is a privilege. And if you get that opportunity to make something, it should be really great.
Yeah, I mean, I get that vibe from everyone who I've met from the team over the years too. That's like, it is that feeling of everyone pulling for each other and pulling for the project and pulling for the idea of what Double Fine is, because it feels like, Double Fine feels like, and that's proxy of you and other people as well, that like it's a beloved company in a lot of different ways where people have really good vibes towards it and the products that it makes and the games that it makes and all of that stuff. And I think a lot of that comes from you too, as being one of the people in this industry who is fairly beloved by so many folks within the industry and by the audience itself, because of you always being extremely nice to people and being fun to talk to and being really welcoming for people to kind of just like say, hey, I really enjoy your stuff. So I think that's a big reflection of the work that you have all done as game developers, and you as a person too, to put that good energy out in the world, which has been fantastic, and why you're one of my favorite people to interview and
awesome.
have
on the show. Nice. That's awesome. I keep it all from you, the dark side. You don't know the secrets, the enemies list, but no, it's a kind of self-fulfilling thing. Like you hire certain people who also you can tell believe in that stuff, and it creates a living kind of force that wants to be that way, and that's great, because then I get to work with all those people.
Yeah.
And that's why, because I really sorry.
No, keep going, please.
Just the last thing I was going to say is that keeping that group together has also been really important. Like, we have some people work there for 20 years, 15 years, along with me, and because the games industry, one of the cruelest things about it is that it'll put people through like a crunch mode or the extreme work situation. The game's over, and like, hey, let's fire all those people and get rid of that whole team. Like, it makes sense to shut that down. And when you think about what it takes to make a game, and you'll have a team that doesn't get along at the beginning, or they have some rough edges, and they figure out watching human beings figure out how to work together, and like, hey, I understand communication problem, we've resolved it. And by the end of the project, they're all working together so well, and then they just get scattered to the winds. It's over and over again. I've seen that in the games industry. So it's just like, making a team that wants to stay together is so valuable, because they've just learned so much about working together.
How hard is it these days to kind of keep a squad together in that way? Is because of not necessarily just churn or the kind of usual reasons why people kind of leave a company, is like, you're working me too hard, or I'm finding another opportunity. Is it really hard in these days, where there being so many different avenues for making games, to kind of keep a team together in that way?
I mean, it's been it can be hard competing. Like, we San Francisco is a different town when we started the company in 2000. Yeah. It wasn't that affordable, but it was still a little more affordable. Like, so we make a company here, and we've got to compete. Like, our neighbors are pretty, Google and Facebook, right? Yeah. It's like, so that's hard to keep a team together when you got companies like that next door going like, hey, wouldn't you like to slide down into a cafe for, I don't know how to put their pitches. The pitch is usually just like, would you like to make 8 times your salary? Okay. So that can be the biggest challenge, but I feel like overall, the loyalty you put into the team usually comes back. Like, we fight to keep the team together after, like, even when we were an indie company and we had a certain amount of money to make a game, and then you have this kind of pit in your money. Like, okay, the money's over, next game hasn't come in yet. So like, it does make sense to fire everybody and stay lean until you get your next contract. But we've always kept people on, which makes it a little bit more of a nail biter. But I feel like the team feels that they know you're doing that. They know that you're committed to them keeping their job. So when you have tough times, that commitment, I think, comes back. And so when we lost all our money for the first Psychonauts game, and I was like, I don't know where the money's going to come from. We're going to try. That's a pretty scary thing to hear, but everyone stayed on. Like, everyone stayed on board and finished that game. And that's only because I think there's a mutual commitment that between you and the team,
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that shows, again, like the ethos of a spot being really good, where people feel like the energy is one that they want to stay around with and hang out for and kind of be in that space, which is great. One of the other things I love about the work that you all have done is that you've all kind of helped to foster and continue to put the indie space as a place that you really want to kind of focus some areas and do some good work with. Day of the Devs is a thing that happens all the time. And I love
all the time. Now it happens. It used to happen once a year. Now it's happening all the time.
I mean, all the time in my head, where I'm just like, oh, Days of the Devs is happening again. Because again, time has no actual relevance anymore, because I don't know where we're at and what year it is. Earlier today, I was like, yeah, in 2023, I was like, oh, we're not even in 2022 yet. Anyway.
I try to remember if you've been to the live show. Have you been in person?
To the day? No, yeah. I've never. No. I've
never been in the city. Yeah. Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time, because it's happening all the time, Tim. So it's easy for me to go.
Yeah, Day of the Devs is do you want me to say what it is?
Yeah, please.
Let me tell you what it is. It's a indie games festival. We started it because there's no fan facing show in San Francisco, and we're lazy and we didn't want to fly anywhere. And so we're like, I mean, we have GDC comes, but that's developer focused, and then you have your E3 shows, but we want to do something that was fan focused, where also it was about meeting developers and where fans could stand right next to developers and talk to them about their games. And it's free. And it's all ages, and it's like a music festival that we have musical guests, and it's just a celebration of video games and the people who make them and the people who play them. And we've done it every year in San Francisco. And of course, in the last year we couldn't, so we did it digitally, and it was we do it with IM8-bit. Helps us put the show together, and Jeff Keighley's Summer Fest, his Summer Games Fest, lets us tag along and be part of that show. And so we got to be still focus on sharing these cool games with everybody. So it's been great that we've still been able to do that. But I would like to get back to doing it in person, because there's no substitute for that, obviously. But it's great to be part of Jeff's show, because it's part of like something I believe in strongly about games I mentioned before, which is there's no one answer to like what games should be or what games should be like. I mean, look at the variety of games you're seeing here, but all the games in Jeff's show are great, and it's just the fact that games span such a, you can have these massive games, and you can have these little games, and you as a player know that they both appeal to you at different times. So you're in a different mood to play these different games, or maybe you only really want to play this one game. There's room for that. There's room for that too. There's just so many deep wells of game fandom. Like recent show you were talking about. Was it League of Legends, right? And it's like, I've never played that game, but it's there's so people who are, or if you've ever, I had never played Dota 2, and you're like, you see some of the people gathering to go to the show, you're like, oh my God, these people have dedicated their life to this game. All their friends come from this game, and it's such a big thing. But next door to it is some other game they don't know anything about that's also that deep. There's some obscure JRPG you can't get in this country or something, but some people have cosplayed that. It's like there's so many deep things, but it all fits. And Day of the Devs, I think, is just one of those things where you want to show that like there's no one right answer to what a game is. It could be any one of these things.
How hard is the curation process for this at this point? Because it is really visible. You have a lot of eyes on it, especially being parts of things like E3, Summer Games Fest, and things like that, kind of moving forward, and knowing that it is also attached to Double Fine in that way. Are you just getting like a wild amount of submissions every year at this point that come in that you have to dig through?
There was more this year than any other year. Like it's getting bigger. And in the beginning, I basically Greg Rice.
Yeah, I love Greg.
Gentle giant of games.
Yeah.
He would look at all the submissions himself, by himself, and he would ask for help. He'd be like, "Hey, help me look through all these games." And all of us were busy making a game, but he would get these submissions, and he would curate that, and found a lot of great gems in there. And but it is so big and is growing, and so we've established a kind of a cabal of curators from we try to be really platform independent, so there's someone from each of the companies, from all the big players and platform holders, and so it's really a fair gathering of people from PlayStation and Xbox and PC and and Nintendo, and like just people from all over looking at these games, and we get together and they make a huge spreadsheet of all the submissions and split it up, and everyone looks at it and we all talk about it, and with our friends at IM8-bit too, and Spaff, and just a whole bunch of people look at them now, and it still is pushed a lot by Greg, and so and we're still doing it. So you see the games this year, and they're incredible, and I think it just shows how look, and you see the developers there they are.
Yeah.
So and it's like a mellow pace. Like if you watch a show, it's like it's a whole different kind of aesthetic about presentation too. It's kind of like it's a little more chill, and it's just like, this is our game, here it is, and you get to see the quirky developers talking about them, and I love it. I love when the first trailer comes out, when all the games have been selected, and they're just like one after another, and your eyes can't believe all the crazy things you're seeing. That's one of my favorite moments of the year.
I mean, I love the fact that it is that super chill vibe, and that it feels like everyone kind of sitting around the fire pit kind of vibe, right? Like everybody coming in, chilling, hanging out, and showing off their games and talking about stuff like that. It is also really cool to just see the breadth and depth of the kinds of games like we're seeing. Like Tome is here, this kind of photo game where you're taking pictures of stuff and doing that kind of work. And the game I'm super excited about in Phantom Abyss, with that being Legends of the Hidden Temple on crack, which I'm super excited for in that way. How has the indie space changed in your purview at this point, seeing as you've been in the game for a bit?
Oh, and also I was going to say vocabulary. Oh, I want to say that one right. The stop motion one.
Yeah.
Vocabulantis.
Yes. That thing looks nuts.
I thought it was going to be one thing, but then when they showed the work they were doing into light, like recording different lighting and doing live lighting on stop motion captured, it's just a look I love, and it's really neat what they're doing. And there's so many, you could keep naming games from that show, but and it's wait, what was the question? How's the indie space changed?
Yes.
It seems to be more inclusive and brings together a bunch of different types of people, and people who I think 5 years ago wouldn't have thought of themselves as game developers, but there are these new tools and things that let different artistic visions, creative visions be, come forward, but people who don't know how to program, and, there's a lot of more opportunity, I think. And then there are a lot of tools that let people produce really small teams, produce really polished looking things. So, I just love that you can still be surprised. You'll have this idea of something. Oh, it has to look super polished then, and everything has to look really fancy as far as rendering goes. And then someone will come out with a black and white 2D thing, and it's the best thing in the show. And you're like, oh, I guess it's really more about the ideas. It's more about the inspiration than it is about any sort of rule about what it has to be.
Yeah.
And also the presentation being more chill, I think, is important to me, because sometimes, as a creative person, you go to a big E3 event, and it's the production value is so high, but it can be really daunting and intimidating as a creator, because you're like, how could my little voice have a place in this? When you see one of those big, major, platform holder press events, you're like, this show's so loud. The stage is so big, the money is so big. How can my tiny creative voice fit into all this? And then you present things in a different way, and you feel a lot more at home. I think maybe in a show, some people might feel a lot more at home in a show like Day of the Devs, and see their game fitting in here better. But I think the point is that like I said, I keep saying, there's no rule about it, and everyone has a unique perspective, and a unique voice and point of view. And I just want to encourage everyone to put their thing forward and be like, no, this is what games are. About this vision thing that I had that no one's thought of yet, and here it is. So there you go.
I knew that I was, getting a little bit older in the video game industry when I would go to some of those events, and that would be the first thing I was thinking, is like, God damn, this thing is too loud. This place is too loud.
Oh my God. I went to one of the first ones, and it was the year that like Sega and Nintendo were trying to kill each other, and just like with they didn't have, I think, decibel rules. Now there's rules about how many decibels you can trade on the show floor, and there weren't any rules like that in the old days. And I remember sitting outside, like I went out like a fire escape, and I was just like, what's happening? It's so loud.
I think the first year I snuck into E3, because I wasn't actually in the industry at that point. It was like 2005, maybe.
A lot of stories like that. That's how you do it. That's how you get in there first.
Kaja Ink on a Vistaprint card, and I went in and got in, and the first thing I got to was EA was debuting like Fight Night Round 3 or something like that, and the whole floor was one big speaker. And I was like, what? My heart hurts when I'm in this room. I need to leave this room. It was wild.
We were there the year that I think it was like Space Channel 5 came out on like Dreamcast. And they had a wall of go-go dancers. Yep. Like this is like 5x5 rack, and there's like boom music, and next to it we're trying to show like some adventure game or something. You're like this is our game. Anyway, it's all good. It's all fine.
Yeah,
I feel like I've been ranting now.
No, not even.
Tell me if I push the rant button.
It's too loud. No, I rock with that. Hearing that you kind of love the fact that it's kind of small and intimate in this way, is that kind of the plan, to kind of keep it that way, so that you can give people enough space to kind of own the space that their game kind of resides in, and also give people the ability to kind of like actually talk to people when they're having the conversations around their games?
Yeah, we want it to be intimate and personal, and you try and keep it really simple. Like it's a 1 day show. There's no, you don't have to, it's on multiple days. There's no booths. There's no when it's live. There's no like you don't have to set up some giant booth and deal with that. It's just like plug and play. Come set up your game, and you're right there talking to people. There's some like hours when the press can come in early and talk to people, do longer interviews and stuff like that. But other than that, it's just like. It's just a one-on-one with it. I mean, there's a lot of people there, so sometimes it can be hard to talk to a developer if you wait till the end of the day, for sure.
Yeah, because devs get tired towards the end of the day.
Oh my god, yeah.
What's the longest kind of press thing that you've had to do so far? What's the longest you've had to like stick around and do all the interviews?
I will never forget like Gamescom for Brutal Legend was like. And EA, PR people were great, but they put you at Gamescom, they put you in this windowless kind of veal slaughtering pen, and they just bring in, they have your game on there, and here's your demo script, and you're like, here's the game, and they'll bring in like 15 European journalists, and you give the thing, and then you say thanks, and they ask questions, and they walk out the door, and they bring in the next from another door. There's like 2 doors, and they leave, and the next one comes in, and I did like 5 of those in a row. I was like, can I get some coffee or something? And they look at me like, what are you, human? What is this? Just keep pitching. Oh my god, I felt like I was gonna die.
Keep going. Say the thing as much as we need you to say the thing, please. Keep going.
And it's still when people say Gamescom to me, I get this like, Niagara Falls.
You're like, I don't want to do the Gamescom move again.
But you're like, it's my game, and every interview I do maybe sells 5 more copies. I really need that coffee. Now.
Kind of bridging off that, because it's almost time to let you go. Time has flown by. Jeez. What's the, you and the team have been doing this work for a long time. Again, you have all these fantastic games that people really dig into and love. If you could make a game that was in a different genre, one that you kind of haven't touched before, what game would you personally want to kind of make, and what genre would it wind up being in?
Oh man, it's hard because I feel very lucky I gotten to make most of the games I want, that I envisioned, but there's some that are like there's so many great games that I admire. Like I often said, if I could like Men in Black the world and make them forget that Media Molecule made Little Big Planet, I would, and tell them that I made it. That would be one of my goals. Like to make a game like that, where that's, or Dreams. Like it's about people's creativity.
I love Dreams.
Inspiring, but I also love I love anything that's about building a world. So I play a lot of like Animal Crossing, and it's like it'd be fun to make a game about a living environment like that, and just write all the little moments and come up with that, or any sort of I think it would be a long time before we'd be able to make anything big of like a big multiplayer thing, right? Yeah. But a world like that because that's what you're always doing. Like the world of Brutal Legend is like this huge land that exists, but like it seems like you can just keep going and build bigger and bigger spaces and put some more lore in there. But that kind of stuff is really fun, appealing to me. But mostly I would say that we've probably been able to make most of the crazy ideas that I've had, lucky in that way.
That's fantastic. I mean, I love to hear that. I mean, I always wonder about that from a content creator perspective of like, what's the thing that I would have loved to have been in on, or, what's the thing that I want to host or, be a part of, or any of that kind of stuff. And I still have my little bucket list of things, and I'm just like, oh, if I could get to do that, I feel like I would have either like I made it or I did the thing that I was hoping to do. But that's awesome to hear.
I'll tell you a secret. I'll say this because it'll probably never happen, but like secret thing, like it'd be really fun to take someone else's giant IP, very serious, really expensive IP out there, and let me do a little Treehouse of Terror like sub DLC for it, ridiculous stuff happens in that world. Yeah, that would be fun. Also.
Ooh, I like that.
Someone else has done all the expensive stuff, and I just get to write the jokes.
I like that. I like that a lot. Tim, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you spending the time. I am extremely excited about Psychonauts 2, again, because it's going to be the best birthday present I would have gotten this year. Anything else you want the folks at home to kind of to learn or know about Psychonauts before we let you go?
We first of all, I realize it will be a birthday present for you because you need to probably start downloading it. on your birthday.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. It's true. Pre-downloads.
Pre-downloads, yeah. Let's see. You can pre-order it now and wishlist it or pre-order it more accurately. So I guess I should probably tell people they should go pre-order it and then look all puppy dog like and play, please. But I just if they've never played the first game, it's on Game Pass.
Yes,
along with a bunch of Double Fine stuff is all on Game Pass now. And you can, if you got Game Pass, it's basically free to go play Psychonauts 1. And so check that out. There's time to finish that.
True.
And then play Psychonauts 2.
True. Yeah. There's been a lot of folks in the chat tonight who have been giving stacking a whole bunch of love. They were like,
oh, great.
They're like, oh, stacking. We love stacking. So they're giving you a lot of love in the chat on that end.
That's awesome. That's Tim, the Lee Petty made that game. Same person who made Rad and Headlander. And there's not many games where you play. That's good to hear.
Love that.
That is a very special game. And there's not a lot of games like stacking. I'll say that, where you're a Russian nesting doll. Yeah. We're still waiting for all the imitators, all the clones to come out with their Russian nesting dolls, but so far we stand alone.
You have taken that crown, and then if there was a stacking battle royale, you would have won it because you would have been the first and the last one in it.
Yeah, everyone else saw that, and they're like, we got to copy him, but they're like, no, they still own that field.
We will cede this to you in the easiest way possible. Someone said stack royale. You TM that, Tim. You got to TM it.
Yeah. Go buy the domain name around.
Go get it now. Nobody buy that from GoDaddy. Leave it alone. Tim, thank you so much for coming through and for spending time. Again, I love you and the team. I'm really excited for everything you're about to put out in the world. I think everyone in chat and everybody in our audience is really excited for it too. And of course, we want to have you back on the show in the future and have you come rock and hang out. We're doing this other thing where we do kind of ride-alongs with folks, where we kind of have the devs come on and then play the game with them and check out stuff like that. So maybe we'll have you come back and do some cool stuff when Psychonauts drops.
That sounds great. Anytime. I love your show. I like hanging out with you. It's fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, buddy. Excited to have you here. Everybody give Tim some love. We got to give Tim the mostest love. He's going to dip out and we're going to finish off the rest of the show. But word, Tim is brilliant as always. Super amazing and fun. Thank you to Tim for coming through and hanging out. We're going to take a little break. Tim is gonna leave for now, and we're gonna come back and talk a little bit about E3 Summer Games Fest and all the stuff that's been happening in the space over the past week, because we haven't had a chance to talk about it because it's just been too goddamn busy. So we're gonna do that in a second. We'll be right back after this.
Hey Brookago, Merritt K here from Fanbyte. Did you know that Spot On Me is a part of the Fanbyte podcast network? We produce a ton of other great shows like Channel F, a podcast where we talk about the games we're playing.
Can I just say how much I would love for there to be a Hitman game that's just about making people experience embarrassing social faux pas, trying to prank people and make it seem like they had farted or tripped on something? That would be very good.
Dig up weird finds at thrift stores.
So the listing says Bung Doctor V64.
And take your questions about the best jokers.
Labars Martin asks, what's the best or coolest weapon ever given to a mech?
Gundam Fusion Rebake has a really good...
wait, give me that one more time.
Gundam Fusion Rebake.
Yo, I heard you. Gundam Fusion.
I personally guarantee that listening to Channel F will make you a better, smarter, more powerful version of yourself. So go to fanbyte.com/podcasts or search for Channel F on your podcast app of choice today. Improvement not guaranteed. Listening to Channel F may cause jokeification.
Welcome to the Spawn on Me podcast. Again, I'm your host, Kahlief Adams. Thank you, everyone, for coming through. If you missed the first half of our show, you missed a banger with the man, the myth, the legend, Tim Schafer of Double Fine, who came through and hung out tonight and chilled and brought the goods up in this piece. It was really good, really good to be able to hang out with him again. Really enjoy everything that he brings into the world. He's always fantastic and super nice to be able to come through and hang out and talk about a lot of the stuff that we really are digging and having fun tonight. For everybody here on Twitch, we're going to go probably until about 8 p.m. tonight. Everybody else, who's listening in all the other forms, of course, you're going to get the truncated version of the show because it's only going to be in audio form. Lots of stuff have been happening this week. It has been a wild, long week for a lot of different folks. Been very, very busy. I was doing a lot of E3 coverage, Summer Games Fest coverage with our friends over at Fanbyte. The Fanbyte team are brilliant. They have so much content on the feeds over on the Channel F, I think, playlist for their shows over there. They have been fantastic and amazing. Again, like, I love that team. I love working with them. They make me feel like family every time we get a chance to go do stuff. And it's brilliant that I get a chance to rock in with them and do all the cool stuff that we got a chance to do. I'm thinking back on the week, thinking back on all the stuff that happened. It was a lot of stuff. I think, thinking about all the games that happened in Summer Games Fest, thinking about some of the things that got announced, seeing the conversation and seeing so many folks be in the space and kind of talking about games. And it was so much good energy this week. And it was nice to not have, social media freaking out about everything. I mean, some people did some weird stuff, but for the most part, it was super chill. And just really everyone just rocking and hanging out and doing cool stuff. There were a couple of things that I think, if you think about E3 as a whole, everyone kind of has their scorecard of like, who do you think won and who do you think did the most and who do you think like they kind of nailed it and did what they had to do. I think if you're really being honest and thinking about the entire schedule of stuff, there were some fantastic games in a lot of different places. The thing that stuck out for me were two games that I'm very, very excited for. One is Battlefield 2042, which I am amazingly excited for. I got a chance to see some of the preview stuff that all of you wound up seeing in the Xbox conference later on, a couple weeks prior to the conference, and was really excited to see all of that be in the space and happen. And then getting a chance to see the reaction to all of that in the internet was even cooler because so many folks were really, really hyped about the spectacle within that game and everybody that was kind of showing off and all the things that they were showing, and things were blowing up and everything was wild and everything was just all over the place. That part was just nuts. It was cool to see people just wild out and be really happy about it. And get a chance to kind of like geek out about Battlefield 2042 coming back and bringing those good Battlefield vibes. I am so happy that game is going to be good. I am so excited at that game being fun. I am so hyped at the fact that thing is going to be out in the world in a real way that is going to, be, bigger and bolder and going to have so many cool things you're going to be able to do. Being able to not have to worry about your weapons being tied to an operator or to a class, being able to change your weapons on the fly whenever you want. That stuff is going to be cool. Changing the attachments on your weapons and everything is going to be super cool to be able to see that happen. Being able to pull in and call in vehicles whenever you want, ground vehicles. Like EA, I know we are talking about cool things. I don't care. I need to be a part of that coverage. I don't care what happens. I don't care. I got to be down on the back because, hell, the name of this show comes from Battlefield. I'm saying I am very hyped about everything that Battlefield is going to do in the space, and I'm really hyped with the fact that it feels like Battlefield 4 is coming back, and that to me is so important. That is my favorite game, my favorite Battlefield title, and now that we're going to get a chance to get back and play that, I am extremely excited for that in a big way. The other thing that I am very excited about in terms of returns to form has gotta be Halo. Halo looks wild. Halo looks amazingly dope. I am so excited for what Halo was going to bring into the space this year. I am so hyped about this damn game because of all the cool stuff that they talked about. They had this really fantastic multiplayer trailer. that they talked about. They talked about it in the showcase. Then they talked about it the next day about all the cool stuff you're going to be able to see in terms of videos and in terms of armor and all that kind of stuff. I am so hyped about what Halo multiplayer is going to be going forward. I was in my house screaming like a little kid because I was like, I can't believe Halo's coming back and it's going to look this good and it's going to really play well, and the cool things they're going to do with the armor customization, and you have a grappling hook, you can grab weapons out the sky and pull people and shoot them in the face and then hit them with a plasma sword while you're running around all around the map. You get a new vehicle. You can put stuff in the back of it, like a body or a flag or a power up. You can do all that kind of stuff like you in the Mafia. It's amazing. I'm so excited by all that stuff. I am very, very excited by Halo. I am very excited at the fact that we're going to get a chance to play this fairly soon. I am really excited at the fact that we're going to get a chance to play a game that is going to just like eat up so much of my time. It is going to just literally, I know a lot of people are still in the space where they're like, I really care about, playing battle royale games and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't, the conversation's been like, does Halo need a battle royale to be relevant? Or does Battlefield need a battle royale to be relevant? I don't think they do. Like, I just don't think that they need that part of it to be, the linchpin for what that game is supposed to be able to do. Like, I think it's going to be interesting if they dip their toes into it, but if they don't do it and say, this is not what we want to do as a company, I'm totally fine with that. Like, I think they don't necessarily need it to be the game that's going to be in that space to do that work, so that they could feel like they're going to kind of have this thing that everybody else has that they feel like they just don't. I do remember that Battlefield tried to do a BR and it didn't really work. Again, I don't think they need it. I think the base of what that game is going to be solid enough that they don't really need to be able to pull in extra stuff in that way into that game. Because, let's be honest, if they nail the core gameplay and they nail all the other stuff that goes along with that game, like, there's really no reason for them to have to build that into what that game is going to wind up being. It'll be cool to see what their other take is going to be, but for the most part, everything that I saw within the last couple of videos about that game lets me know that I am absolutely fine with them not doing it. Like, I think that that's not a thing that super matters in that way. Like, I just don't think I just don't think I care enough about battle royales for that to be the thing that's going to be like, oh, are they falling off? Are they like doing everything they need to do? Like, to be fair, I really don't think that that's the thing that I care about anymore. I love battle royales if you find a bunch of people who can play and you find a bunch of people who are like really excited about the prospect of playing it. But for the most part, it's not the thing that I came to Battlefield or Halo for in that way. I am excited to see what they are going to do from an esports perspective. I think that is actually going to be really important. I'm not talking about Battlefield. I'm talking about Halo at this point. I think Halo has the potential to be a monster in the esports space. I think that they have a really interesting place to be able to dig into that. It also made me just really think of Ninja really quickly, because when the play for him to join Mixer was in there, one of the major parts of that, I believe, was the fact that he was going to try to help go back to some of his esports roots in the Halo scene. I wonder how that looks now with him with Mixer no longer being a thing and him not being tied to Microsoft in that way. I do wonder if that's going to change and how that's going to look. That was the thing that just ran through my head as a conversation piece of like, what does that mean? But it is pretty cool to see that that's going to be a thing that they're going to focus on. The fact that there's no that they have battle passes, but you can basically, they don't expire. The free to play part of that is brilliant. I think it opens them up. Yep. Like a goon in the chat says, making it free to play really opens up a lot of opportunities. They're really going hard. They're really going to go hard around this time. I agree. Like the fact that you can not have a battle pass expire, keep that battle pass there, and then basically work towards things that are in the previous battle passes while also purchasing new ones. That's a huge deal. I don't think a lot of people are really going to understand how important that is to this game kind of being successful until they go back to play other games where they have to spend, $30 every couple of months to kind of keep up with the cosmetic game that they have in those games. With Halo being so, invested in making sure that you have really cool armor, they have a lot of stuff to play with. I'm really hyped at the fact that they're going to be able to do that in that way and then make what they want in a bigger, kind of more expansive world. Shout out to Good Dave Hunting in the chat who says that feeling of its own take a week or two to send off your cosmetics is a good idea. Yeah. Like you can take a couple weeks off and then still build towards, those cosmetics and get them like that. That's going to be brilliant to see what that means, because that's one of the things that is the hardest thing to do. I, as a person who can't grind out battle passes like everybody else can, because one, I got stuff to do, and two, I'm playing multiple things all the time. That layer of FOMO is just there all the time. And there's not a lot of stuff that you can do about it because you just don't have the actual like physical time to go jump in and do that work in that way. And play games in that way. It just isn't a thing that you can do in the same ways that you kind of always had. I appreciate it. I think it's really cool that it's a thing. But it's not the same idea of needing to go do that work all the time. I'm happy that it's not what it needs to be successful in that way. Like I'm actually excited at the fact that it's not having to do that in that way. Like I'm hyped that that's a thing. So that's exciting and really happy that that's where that winds up leaning into. I want to go through a couple of things that I saw during E3 and the rest of the week that I think are interesting. I'm going to have to dig through a bunch of stories to kind of get there, so be patient with me. Resident Evil is getting an expansion. I'm really excited about that because I really love the Resident Evil series. Extremely excited about that. So very, very excited about that being a thing. The Xbox mini fridge isn't an actual thing. Really excited about that. I'm hoping that hey Xbox team, it would be really cool if y'all send me another mini fridge. That would be super cool. The fridge looks super dope. Redfall looked amazing. Redfall looked fantastic. Black woman kind of taking the front stage as a protagonist. Not really protagonist, as a team of 4, but getting the kind of opening shot of that game, which is a kind of vampire meets Left 4 Dead kind of vibe. That thing looks good and super cool. I was really hyped about that. Forza Horizon 5 looks fantastic and gorgeous. That game looks nuts. Was super excited about that thing. Arctic's like, another mini, the one by itself is feeling lonely. Yeah, you can't have just one mini fridge in the studio. You got to have 2 mini fridges, 2 Xbox mini fridges to make it happen. Best trailer of E3 was the Outer Worlds 2 trailer. I swear, it was one of the funniest, smartest trailers I've seen in a long time, where people were like, what is happening here? Like, I don't know what's actually going on. What does this mean? What are they talking about? And then you see it's the Outer World 2 and you're just like, oh, y'all are really smart. That was really good. That was really fun. And it makes me excited to go back in and finish up the Outer Worlds. I didn't finish that game. Spent a lot of time in it, but just didn't finish it. So I need to go back in and go play it to see if I can, wrap up that game. So I'm hyped about that. Finally got a chance to see more Atomic Heart, which I have been that's my, the game that's on the horizon that I'm the most excited about. Got to be Atomic Heart. I am so wondering about what the hell that game is going to wind up being. I am so excited about Atomic Heart. I want them to tell me all the things about Atomic Heart because it is just going to be, I don't know. I want it to be great. Like I want to feel the feelings that I had when BioShock was a thing. I need to feel that kind of like spooky, I don't know what's happening vibe. The world is trying to kill me, but it's gorgeous and beauty. That's not a word. And pretty at the same time. Like that kind of stuff. I'm always hyped about. Thank you, Cassandra. Hades coming to Xbox and PlayStation on console. God, I've been waiting for that. That's the thing I've been holding off for a long time. I'm just like, oh, please come to console. I know everybody, when I say that, they're like, it was on Switch, Kahlief. Why you keep talking about Switch like that? I don't play my Switch. I finally charged my Switch to yesterday for the first time in a year and a half to go back to Breath of the Wild to go play that thing. But Hades is one of my games of the year. We gave, at the DICE Awards, we gave them some love and gave them Game of the Year. I got a chance to give them that award, which was super cool. So that was super cool. Games that we don't know a lot about, like Contraband, that game looks super, super cool, and I'm excited about that. Annapurna, who comes through and makes bangers all the time. If there are people who I want to get on the show, I want to get some of the stars from 12 minutes on the show. I know it's hard to get people because they're traveling and doing movies and all this kind of stuff. But if I can get McElroy on the show, not McElroy. No, it's not McElroy. Is it McElroy? I think it might be McElroy. Or Willem Dafoe on the show. That'd be big. That'd be a big deal. It would be super cool to be able to get them on the show and talk about that game. Because that game is fire. James McAvoy. I knew I was right. And Daisy Ridley. Yeah, I want to get them on the show real bad to talk about that game. They're going hard in the paint for that game. That game looks brilliant and super cool. I feel like that's going to be one of those games that people talk about a lot. And it kind of has this interesting zeitgeist throughout the rest of the industry, where it's going to be like the kind of arty fan favorite for 2021 when it drops. I think that's going to be super cool. Again, Back 4 Blood was really hyped when I got a chance to play the beta. Getting a chance to jump into that a little bit more is going to be super fun and cool. So very excited about that. What else dropped out? Of course, Starfield opening up the Xbox show yesterday. Not yesterday, during E3, during the Xbox showcase last weekend. That was cool. I need to see what the minute to minute gameplay looks like on that game. It doesn't matter. I'm copping that joint. It's going to be, again, Game Pass. Xbox and Game Pass have again just stamped this seal of approval for anything that winds up coming out now, where because I'm a Game Pass subscriber, I never think about it anymore in terms of do I want to try that game? It's less now about me trying the game and more about, do I have enough hard drive space to download this thing? That's the only thing that matters at this point now. And the fact that they're doubling down on stuff on PC, I don't even have to think about that stuff. I literally don't even think about it. There's so many things to play. So many things that are going to be dropping. So many cool things that are going to be going day and date. I don't even think about it. I'm just like, oh, okay. I have hard drive space. Yo, we playing that joint. It's so good. I don't understand why people are still fronting on Game Pass so hard. I don't get that. It makes no sense to me that that's the thing that people are freaking out and not doing at this point. I understand if you can't afford it. I get it. I understand. That's reasonable. But like people who can afford it and are not paying it for some weird reason of like not wanting to get on the bandwagon, like good on the bandwagon. Stop fronting. There's no reason to front. Far Cry 6, I'm excited about, but it had really weird, not great Spanish in it. I was listening to it and I was like, the Spanish speaking in this game is not great. It is not that awesome. I don't know what to do with that. I want Giancarlo Esposito's character to sound better as that dictator in that game. I am very excited for it. I really want it. I'm like hyped as hell for it. But it just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that vibe because it feels like that stuff is off. It feels like that layer of it that should be really nailed down isn't really hitting the way that it should, which is a little bit sad. I'm a little bit disappointed in that because I was really hoping that he would kill it. And there may be moments in that game where it happens, but for right now, it just doesn't feel like that. Game that surprised me a bunch that I didn't think that I was going to care about, but now I absolutely want is Riders Republic. Riders Republic is a game that I want. I want that day and date. I want that day one. That's a day one cop for me. Being able to have this like multi-sports title where you're doing the kind of X Games version of stuff, riding around on all these mountains and all these disciplines of riding on a bike and in a wingsuit and skiing and all this stuff. Like, I love games like that. Games like that are just brilliant. Cool stuff like that. Ollie World, I'm rocking the shirt. Got a chance to play some of it already. I think it is an embargo that goes up tomorrow of Thursday. So I may be putting up some stuff there. We had a great interview with the devs on that side. So I'm going to try to see if I can get that out tomorrow, or at least for Friday, when this show goes up. That game looks brilliant and super cool. What else was up there that really, really got me excited? Let's see. There was some other stuff in there. Oh, Devolver's showcase was really good. I like, if there was a company that I could go work for and like work on some of their just wild shit that they do, like I would love to work for Devolver. Devolver is like real cool in the way that they work with stuff. That showcase was just so much fun. Like, they just didn't care about, going with the crew. They just rocked it and kept going, and it was super fun. It was really brilliant. What else is there? I mean, there was a bunch of indie games that were great. You saw a couple of them. Phantom Abyss. I'm dying to play that Tome. I'm dying to play the NFT tape that they had in the Devolver thing was super funny. Death. What is it called? Death. With the little bird. Let me see if I can find it, because I know the name of it. I'm actually playing it right now. Death. What are you? What is your name? Death's Door. That game that feels like a little bit of Bastion, but with a super dope little bird. That game looks cool. I still haven't played Tunic. I played Tunic some years ago, and I need to go back and play that. So Tuesday, in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to tell you actual thoughts about Death's Door, because the embargo doesn't go up until a couple of weeks from now. So I'll jump back in there. Death's Door is super fun and cool. So there, like, this E3 for a show that was dead. E3 itself was bad. E3 itself was terrible. In terms of, like, except for the hosting stuff, like Greg Miller, Golden Boy, Jackie, Michael Figam, Avalie May, like everybody who did the actual hosting of E3, top notch, fantastic job. They all killed it. Like, the experience of going to E3 was bad. Like, there was no reason to sign up for the website that they made us sign up for media passes. Like, all the stuff that they wound up putting us through, because again, we didn't do anything, was not worth it. It makes me definitely understand that it was just like there was nothing to do. Like, you went to the website and there was nothing to do. You didn't go get anything. There was no new news that came to you. Like, none of that stuff seemed to have worked well in a real way. And it was really disappointing to see how badly that stuff kind of maneuvered, like in a way that was like really weird. And in a way that just didn't make a lot of sense. But Jeff Keighley killed it. Jeff Keighley rocked it as usual. Summer Games Fest was huge for him. Massive numbers as usual. He had a chance to get the Elden Ring albatross off his neck. And he was super excited. And we talked about all that stuff. It was a Tuesday clubhouse room that is like me, Paris, Aaron Greenberg, Jeff Keighley, Steve Saylor, a bunch of folks, Mav, and it's dope because you get a chance to hear people talk about the experiences of putting on the E3 show and also the other kind of cool stuff that people talk about, the Mav show. And it's so cool to hear people who are doing such big things be so excited by the fact that they get a chance to do this thing in this big way for everybody at home. Like, for you to have this ability to kind of experience this thing in this cool way. I love the fact that people get a chance to do that. And I think that is brilliant and also super just fun to see people do that. So I love that for sure. It is super cool to see that that's a thing that they do. And it makes me happy that that's a part of the E3 experience, Summer Games Fest experience of the gaming industry kind of pushing forward in this way. That makes me just really, really happy. And I love the industry and the people in it because they have such good energy towards it. I think that is it for the show episode. We're going to hang out for another 30 minutes or so, go move over to just chatting and hang out and just chop it up with everybody in the stream, and chill. But for everybody who's listening in the audio podcast, please make sure you're checking out the show. Make sure you're giving us some love. Go follow the show. Everyone here on Twitch, massive love to you all from here. Mayor Man in the chat. We have some cool stuff coming for all of you in Brookago. We have a really cool contest that's going to be coming up very, very soon. You will be able to win some fantastic prizes. So make sure you're hanging out and listening to the show. Make sure you're following the streams. Make sure you're following on twitch.tv/SpawnOnMe. Make sure you're going to check out the stuff on YouTube. We've been doing a new series where we play with devs and interview them while we play games with them. We just did one about League of Legends Wild Rift, which was super cool. I'm learning how to play League. So that is brilliant and super fun. Metroid Dread Love. Yes, Metroid Dread looked super cool. I'm excited for that game as well. But I don't really support Nintendo in that way because I don't buy a lot of stuff. I may buy that game though. I'm thinking about it. I may buy it. Good call, good Dave Hunting in the chat. I may cop that and see what it is because I think it's going to be cool. So we'll see what that is. But for everybody else in podcast land, much love to you all. We're going to be back next week. We're going to probably have a little mini show that talks about some of the stuff that Paris is hosting on Thursday. Yesterday for you if you're listening in podcast land. He's doing a fantastic extended Xbox showcase. He got tapped to host that thing. It is a monumental day for him. I am extremely happy for him. It is a big, huge deal to see somebody like that from the community hosting a major Xbox conference or a major showcase. I love that man. I'm excited for him. I'm proud of him. And I'm excited to see how he did because getting a chance to know that that's something that he had a chance to work with is brilliant and cool. So everybody tune in for that. If you're listening on Twitch, make sure you're doing that 10 a.m. tomorrow on Thursday of this week on the 17th. Make sure you're going to check that out. Everyone in podcast land, we're going to get up out of here. If you're in the Twitch chat, hang out for a couple of bits. We're going to give some love to everybody who followed and subbed. And then we're going to get up out of here around 8 p.m. tonight. So everybody in podcast saying much love to you. We'll see you all very soon. We'll see you next week. Much love and peace.